In this video, I'd like to talk to you about the stock market investigation worksheet that I'm asking you to complete today. First thing that you need to do after you've got the document downloaded and saved to your This Could Be My Life folder is to go ahead and open up another web browser and find your way to finance.yahoo.com. So I'll click and open up my web browser here and type finance.yahoo.com. On this website, you'll find a lot of information with regards to the stock market, and that's going to help us with our work today. Okay, so looking at the worksheet, you see that we're going to use the search bar on the finance website to search for each stock symbol below and identify the following: the current value per share, the 52-week range, and in what sector does the company operate. So we're going to be looking at about 10 different companies here: Microsoft, IBM, Intel, Apple. They're not all technology companies. We've got some pharmaceuticals and energy companies in here as well. So let's go ahead and look for Microsoft first. On the website, I'll search for MSFT. That's the symbol for Microsoft, and click Enter. If your computer runs a little bit quicker than mine, you'll see the shortcut pop up there, and you can click on that link. Right now it's a little bit after 4 o'clock, and I see that after closing, Microsoft is currently worth $50.07 per share. So that's what I'm going to put in place for the current value, $50.07. So this tells us what Microsoft is currently trading for per share, but I'm curious to see how it's performed over the last year, and that's what this 52-week range is telling us about. So if we look in this summary page here, we can see that the 52-week range was $39.72 to $56.85. So I'll copy this and bring it over to my worksheet. $39.72 to $56.85. Now that way I know whether the price in the last year has historically been higher or lower than where it's at. That might give me an idea for where this stock might be going in the future. And finally, for this stock, I'd like to find out what sector it operates in. So we'll go back to the website, and on the left-hand side, we'll choose the profile option on the left-hand side. There we go. My computer's running a little bit slow. Let's see what comes up here. There it is. Sector. Microsoft operates in the technology sector. So I'll go ahead and indicate that. And that's all that we're doing for these first 10 stocks. You will start to see that several of these companies operate within the same sector. And as we mentioned while studying stocks through the school year here, that it's probably not a good idea to purchase all of your stocks within the same sector. You want to diversify a little bit more. While it would be good to separate your purchases and split up into different stocks, buying in the same sector is still a bit stale. You'd want to diversify from that too. So it's a good idea to know what type of companies you're buying when it comes time to buy your stocks. Now, this investigation is only part of what we're going to complete today. The second part of what I'd like for you to complete is just a scenario here. Let's see what would happen had you bought some stock in each of these companies the day that it became available. So if we look down this second column where it says date purchased, all of these dates are the dates that these companies became publicly traded companies. So when you could first buy from that company. So in this Microsoft row, I'm going to ask you to find out what was Microsoft selling for the day that you could buy it when it first became publicly available, and how much did it cost per share. Now I'm going to give you some numbers to investigate here. Let's suppose you bought 200 shares at that time. Well, you could find out what the total value of that purchase was when it first became available. Jumping across this dividing bar here, I'm going to ask that you again tell me what today's cost per share is. Fortunately, that information should be the same as what your current value lists. right? Because you're finding the current value of the stock. That's today's cost per share. And you can see how many shares that you now own. And when I'm in class next, we'll talk a little bit more how it can go from, or how your ownership in Microsoft can go from 200 shares to 400 shares. Again, we'll talk about that when I'm in class next, but that's what's happened. Instead of having just 200 shares, you now have 400, and at the new cost per share, you have a new total value. And when comparing the total value today to what your total value was when the stock was purchased, you can find the total growth, or the dollar amount growth. And we can compare that to our initial investment and see how much our investment has grown in terms of a percentage. So let me run through that example with Microsoft, and then I'll let you work on the remaining stocks today. So we'll need to go back to the finance.yahoo site, and what I'd like for you to do is go to the left-hand side and click on historical prices. Now I've given you specific dates to look for, so I need to go back in history to March 13th of 1986, and I want to see what that price would be. If I look at this page right now, it doesn't look like the prices are going to go back that far. The prices that are listed here are daily through, through the last few months. So we're going to have to set the new date range. And as it turns out, you can see that March 13th, 1986 was already populated in there. So actually, you know what? I think it may have already been set up for that. So let's do this. Let's just go to the last page and see where that takes us. If I click on this last page, oh yeah, that'll work. That'll save us some time in class. There we go. We go to the last page and we can see some information on Microsoft when it first became available in 1986. Now I'm going to look at this open column because I'm going to assume that I bought this stock the moment that it became available. So at opening in 1986, it was $25.50 per share. So this was $25.50 per share. And with the basic calculator, we can find the total value. The total value, of course, is the price per share times the number of shares that we purchased. That's $5,100. Here's a trick for you. If you press Control-C to copy, or if you choose Edit Copy, you can then paste that number into the Word document. And that might save you some time while working today. If I bought 200 shares at $25.50 per share, I would have spent $5,100, or that's what the value would have been in 1986. Well, as it turns out, the value of the stock is now $50.07. So we're going to go with a price of $50.07, and I now own 400 shares of that. So if I switch back to the calculator here, basic math indicates that $50.07 times the 400 shares that we have. My shares in Microsoft are now worth $20,000. So $20,028. I'll put some punctuation in here to make it look a little bit nicer. And when I compare the $20,028 to the $5,100 that I spent originally, I see that my stock has grown by $14,928. Now, to obtain that relative growth rate, well, let me back it up. I got the total growth by subtracting my total value from the right column from the total value in the left column. And so this is how much it's grown by. I've increased $14,000 in value. So to find the relative growth, I'm going to take the amount that we've changed by and now divide that by the initial value, the starting dollar amount. So this relative growth was 2.92. Looked like that rounded to 2.93. So this stock, the value of my investment has grown 2.93 times as large. Or if you're a fan of percentages, you might recognize this as 293%. So that's all that I'm asking you to do today, is to complete this worksheet for all of the stocks that I've given to you. You can pause and replay parts of the video to see how I've done any of my math in here, or if you'd like to ask for help from either the substitute or Mrs. Braden next door. I know her class is working on the same thing today. You can talk to her and ask for help as well. If you'd like to email me any of your questions, I should be near a computer while working on curriculum today. I'd be happy to take a look at them if I've got the time to do so. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.